Yo, what's up, YouTube? This is We All Juggle Knives with the brother knife, yes. And this is apparently the evil stepbrother to the SPYDERCO MANIX 2 XL, which is a knife I highly recommend. One knife, one life. All right, I gotta admit that's a pretty cool motto. So yeah, this is 440C. So the big elephant in the room here, the difference between the SPYDERCO and this, it is the steel. And 440C is not a bad steel, but it's just less regarded than the steels that SPYDERCO is using in its MANIX series. Speaking of MANIX, here's 3 of them next to the brother knife. So that first knife is just a MANIX with the FRN handle and S110V. And then the brother knife next to that is the regular MANIX 2 XL with S30V. Right, and next to that is a special edition. It's got carbon fiber handle scales, and it's S90V. Okay, some close-ups. So you see the blade shape here, classic leaf-shaped drop point. I've heard people say it's weird. It's not really weird to me because SPYDERCO's been around for a long time now, but I guess if you predate 1979 by several decades, then it would look weird. Now, this is primarily a review of the knife, not of the whole cloning controversy, but I will touch on that in the video anyway, just a little bit, and explain why it happens. All right, but first, the initial sharpness. Well, this came quite sharp. Yeah, whoever made this brother knife, they've got the initial sharpness down, and I'm not exactly sure who owns this brand or if it's its own brand. I mean, the quality level is around that of a Ganzo, so who knows, maybe some other brand, owns the brother name brand, right? But you see, the blade length, it's about 3.8 inches. The ergonomics are almost exactly the same as a MANIX or MANIX XL, which is good. I do highly recommend the SPYDERCOs. Okay, so that is mainly the review, and now I'm going to talk about why clones exist, and also which groups should probably buy the clone and which should not. Okay, when you ask why clones exist, you're really asking why people buy them, because if nobody bought them, then nobody would make them. So why do people buy clones? Some people buy clones because they live in countries where they can't get the original, or the original is so overpriced that it would be completely irrational to pay that price. In some countries, the SPYDERCO costs twice as much as it does in the US, and so I wouldn't pay that either. And people in that situation, they're picking a choice of evils. They believe it's wrong to copy, probably, but they also believe it's wrong that they have to pay twice the price. So in protest of that fact and for practical reasons, they're going to buy it in protest. Then there's people in America who feel that the knife prices even in America are too high. They mistrust the original companies. They feel the companies are getting too greedy and trying to rip them off. So again, in protest, as a warning shot, a wake-up call, they might buy the clone, because even though they probably think copying is wrong or at least a bad thing to do, they don't really care that it was done to a company that they feel is doing a bad thing to them and trying to rip them off. And the third group who buys clones, people who just have a personal limit to how much they'll spend, and the original is just beyond their limit. Usually it's a person that's not that into knives, they just need something, and they don't really care about the politics of one company screwing over another because they're not that into the community, they're not collectors, right? And so they don't have anything against SPYDERCO, they just would never purchase something that's priced like the original. So that's why I think the clone market exists. Cold, hard, mathematical, economic facts. That's what produces it. I don't believe in the alternate theory that, clones are popular because they were shown on YouTube. I call that the mass hypnosis theory. It's the theory that people are just mesmerized because they saw something on the internet, and YouTube videos are controlling their actions, and they're just that suggestible. It's kind of a stupid theory because, it's based on just superstition and fears as opposed to mathematical economic facts. And also, belief in free will has been a cornerstone of Western philosophy for thousands of years, and I'm not about to not believe that people don't exercise their own free will just because the internet now exists. So back to this knife, who would it be good for? Well, people who don't really care about steel or just feel that 440C is enough steel for them, and all those groups I mentioned. I mean, I don't think anybody really thinks that design copying is a good thing, but at the same time, if you're in a country where the import taxes and things like that are so crazy that you're having to pay twice as much, darn right you have a right to protest in whatever means you can. Likewise, if you're in America and you just think knife prices are way too high, you have every right to protest buy the clone. I'm a knife collector, so I'm kind of a captive buyer. I mean, if companies I like are charging too much, I pretty much have to stomach those prices or leave my hobby, right? So do I think prices are too high? Sometimes. Do I think SPYDERCOs are? It really depends on the model. But like I said, I'm a collector. What other choice do I have except for leaving my hobby? But most people are not collectors, so I don't expect you to always stomach those prices, especially my peeps in the UK, Australia, Germany, where the prices are just insane. Like Americans would never pay those prices that you guys have to put up with. So of course the clone market exists, and because of real economic reasons that are not going to change, and there's no way it couldn't exist given the conditions, competition is supposed to keep prices in check. But when all the high-end knife companies seem to be raising their prices in unison, in parallel, that breaks down, and things like clones are really just the last alternative, the last red flag, the last safety valve that could keep prices down to earth. All right, this has been We All Juggle Knives.